Here we go. Welcome to Tampa Home Talk with your host, native Tampa real estate girl, Katrina Madewell, a full-time passionate, out-of-the-box thinker with love for home ownership, kind of realtor, with nearly 30 years of combined mortgage and real estate experience. Tune in every week at this time for expert advice on everything you need to know about home ownership, finance, maintaining great credit, building wealth, and making your everyday life better, and how you can be financially successful today and tomorrow. Remember, love where you live or let Katrina fix it. Now, here's your host of Tampa Home Talk, Katrina Madewell.
Well, good morning and welcome. This is Katrina Madewell, and you're listening to Tampa Home Talk. Welcome and happy Friday. Mr. Leo Kane with Barrel Engineering and Inspection is in the house.
I'm excited to be here today. We got an exciting show. I missed last week, but I'm here this week.
We also have Miss Jeannie Restrpro from Insured Title Agency. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
Miss On the Fraud Queen. She's going to talk all about that title fraud, man. She's got a new story for us every time she's in the house. I can't wait to talk to her. Today's topic is going to be all about how to read your title commitment. Maybe you've never seen this, but you do get it. You may or may not have paid attention to it. If you got a loan, your lender definitely paid attention to it, especially the exceptions on the back page. But we'll talk about what is in that title commitment, what does it mean, and what are some things maybe you should look out for, especially if you're paying cash. That would be a good one, right? Like the cash stuff in there. So we'll talk about that over this hour. And before we do, we're going to jump into the numbers. Leo, last week, we had a sharp 1021 active new listings on the market.
We broke 1,000?
In 7 days. Yeah, last week we did. We broke 1,000. We had another couple weeks like that. But last week we definitely broke 1,000. We were at 1021. And this week, not as sharp. So we're coming in at 941. People are still hanging on to those houses. 941 hit the market, single family, 3 counties over the last 7 days.
I mean, we've been pretty steady since April. I mean, we look at number of new listings since April. We've been hovering right around 1,000. I mean, we had a small dip, obviously, for Memorial Day weekend, but we get about 1,000 new single-family homes per week hitting the market. So we're steady within 10% on any given week. So new listings is solid. I mean, we've been seeing that solid. I mean, if we go back all the way to the beginning of the year, we're still within a 20% band. So the number of new listings per week is actually a solid number.
Our pendings are down a smidge this week. They're coming in at 839 compared to last week, which was 911.
Which also continues another trend where new listings are outpacing pendings. So that's something we've been seeing for a while now.
It's that tiny little uptick we're seeing in that absorption rate. Not week over week, but I would say every couple, 2-3 weeks, we're seeing a little uptick.
So with this constant trend, I mean, for like a 3-year period, we were really looking at the number of pending outpacing new listings, which I was baffled on. Like, if every week we have more houses disappearing from the market than appearing, how do we have anything on the market? But now we're in the opposite. We've got about, like I said, 20% less. So if for every listing that goes on, 20% of those listings are still up and about, basically.
And then our solds are these have been pretty consistent most of the year, but coming in at 715 last week, we were 709. So pretty solid numbers there. I mean, they're pretty neck and neck. They're a little lower than the new listings, and the solds are a little lower than the pendings.
I just like the consistency of the market. If you're in a good market, you're in a bad market. The one thing I look for is consistency, and that's what we're getting going all the way back to April 5th. We're getting consistent numbers across the board. If new listings are up, solds are up, pendings are up. If new listings are down, sold are down, pendings are down. And they're all basically within the same ratio of each other, which means we have a very strong market.
Consistent market.
Yeah, and that's what you want. You want consistency. You want strength. You don't want volatility. You don't want to know week to week what's going to happen. Like if you were going to list your house now at a fair price, you pretty much know the timetable on what it's going to take for that house to sell. And if you're a buyer, you pretty much know what your options are out there. It's a very steady market. It's actually a perfect time, minus interest rates, to be a buyer or a seller right now because of the consistency in the market.
Speaking of which, very, very soon, like right around the corner, July 1st, Hometown Heroes is opening up with some more money. We think that's going to go away pretty quick. Probably, 3 to 4 months, I think that money will be gone, wouldn't you say?
Fingers crossed it lasts
Hopefully
that
it
long.
lasts that
I think
long.
a lot of people have been waiting to see that money get refunded. But do not despair, because Hometown Heroes is not your only option that's out there for down payment assistance.
It's a really freaking good option. And just to piggyback on that and say why is, the rates are better on that program, really appealing for first-time home buyers. They get up to $35,000, up to $35,000. I'm glad they stretched this a little bit more. Initially, they were just dumping all the cash in it, but now they're just giving people kind of a certain amount or exactly what they need, which is good. And they're waiving a lot of the regular taxes that buyers would pay. So the intangible taxes, the state tax stamps, those are not on the settlement statement for the buyer. So they're paying less in closing costs, the interest rate is less, and they're getting down payment assistance up to $35,000. And that fund is being replenished. I know that money is coming out of the Sadowski fund, so thank goodness they're not sweeping the money every time. Do you watch that? Is that something you're watching? Sadowski fund? Anyway, state of Florida sweeps it all the time, and it's meant for affordable housing. And they have used this money where it needs to be for the last couple years. Thank goodness. Yes. Leo's making the sweeping motions in the studio. But if you want some information on this, or you know someone looking to buy their first home, or maybe you're looking to sell a home, get us in touch with those recent college graduates, the people getting married, looking to start their life. Maybe there's a spunky 18-year-old that's ready to jump out and move on their own. Good opportunity opening up. No, not 18 anymore. 25? 25? Yeah. I thought I was being a little
I'm like,
overzealous.
What decade are you in?
Yeah. Well, I have a couple still at home and they're around under that age. So.
What decade?
I'll let you know how that pans out.
Are they under 18 or under 25?
Under 25, both of them.
Oh, you just want them out of the house.
Well, that would be okay too, but it doesn't work like that.
But then like 25 is the new 18, and by the time they turn 25, it'll be 34.
Yeah, I don't know about that. They're not living at home when they're 34. I think we're going to have to sell the house and squeeze them out if that happens. So if you're listening to that, we can do that. 813-377-2775. That's our off-air number. If you need to squeeze some kids out of the house, make those little birdies fly, we can help you. 813-377-2775. And Jeannie Restrpro at Insured Title Agency, they can do the title work on that. We'll teach you guys how to read that title commitment. So no dad joke on that? You got nothing?
I'm not prepped on the dad jokes. I need to find one.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So where do you want to start? I think we should leave our little title fraud story for a little bit later. Let's get into the boring stuff first, and then we'll talk about the exciting stuff.
Wait, we need to tease the story, though.
Yeah, give us a little teaser, and then we'll talk about what it is later.
The teaser is that fraudulent sellers are not slowing down, but we are using a Florida Realtors benefit app to bust them even faster than ever before.
Ooh, I think I know what she's talking about.
We're
going to talk about it soon.
So I have a story that goes along with why you should read your title commitment. And as Katrina is saying, so it's one of the documents that you're presented at closing. Most of the time people think, oh, I get it, I see it, moving on. However, if there is a problem with it, these problems can be far and wide. And here's why. The title commitment is essentially the document in the closing procedure that confirms for you that you are dealing with the correct seller, that all of the people who have ownership rights of this property are indicated and they are on your contract conveying all of their property rights to you, buyer, free and clear of any liens, encumbrances, and debts.
And if they're not, or you guys missed anything, that's where the insurance policy comes into play, right?
Yes, but here's what I'm telling you. And this is what I say about insurance is, yes, you have insurance for if something bad happens, but do you want to have to deal with that at all?
No, nobody does.
You'd rather just not. So yes, you have insurance for those hiccups and situations that happen, but better than that, let's make sure that we've done a thorough review of the title. That is essentially the biggest piece of what title does for you at closing. Is not just printing out pieces of paper and giving you a nice blue pen to sign. This is the document that shows that our team has done the research, and we are ensuring that we have combed the books, like what you would say, electronically, and we are confirming that you are dealing with the correct seller or sellers, that there's nothing attaching to this property that you're not aware of, that anything that is attached, like say an existing mortgage or something like that, that it's noted on here, it's being paid off at closing. Those are the monies that are held back from the seller's proceeds to settle any of the debts that they have. But here's what can happen. So Katrina mentioned earlier that your lender has reviewed it. Well, what I've learned is not necessarily.
Oh, okay, good.
Ooh, scandal.
Good.
I shall not name any names, but a lender partner of ours called me and said, hey, I'm working this deal. Obviously, lender's representing buyer. The buyer did not choose the title company. And here's what's happening. This other title company, not Insure Title Agency, they had expired E&O insurance, and therefore the lender was denying that they could do the closing. Number one, what are you talking about?
I was like,
how
is that possible?
This? I guess it's possible. Is it good? No, it's very bad.
Like, how hasn't their underwriter shut them down if they've got an expired E&O?
I don't know. So that, honestly, that title company should not be issuing any title policies at all, period. Because when when the title company's insurance is expired, this is bad. Now, one thing I want everyone to know is, while we obviously appreciate your business when you're working with us at Insure Title Agency, we are not a party to the contract. So if you're
a service provider.
Correct. So if the title company on any real estate transaction is not upholding their end of what they're supposed to be delivering on behalf of buyer or seller, get it out of there. Do not allow a derelict title company to delay or derail your closing. I don't understand. You don't even really need, as long as buyer and seller agree to move it, move it. They are not a party to the contract, but they are a piece that when it says seller must deliver to buyer title commitment, seller must deliver to buyer lien search, they are the party that is facilitating that.
Right.
But if they are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, and if they are trying to tell you that your closing is going to be delayed, your rate lock is in jeopardy because they are not doing their jobs and performing their duties on time, please move it somewhere else, like to us.
We had that happen with one of the big dogs not too long ago when they got, hacked and their whole systems were frozen from, what do you call it, where they hold their ransom.
Right.
Ransomware.
A very large title company and underwriter was hijacked. I'm so sorry that that's happening to you, but that's not my problem.
It's not, and that's what I said. We represented the buyer, and I'm like, I'm really sorry, but we have a contract that we need to follow.
Yes.
And so let me give you a little tip. Can I piggyback on that?
Please do.
So these title commitments are always written on an underwriter, right?
Yes.
And so a little fast track hack, and if you lived through the housing crash like me, you had to learn this stuff because banks were imploding by the day, as were title companies. And so we lived and worked through that and had to figure out a solution. So the reason why I know this is you could take this title commitment on the underwriter that underwrote the policy, and you can take this and move it to another title company, and it's fast. They'll honor that commitment.
Yes.
You probably want to piggyback on that and clean it up, but you get what I'm saying. Like, that's a little solution.
Absolutely.
If something of this is going on.
If the retail office that you're dealing with is trying to cause delays because they're not performing their duties, please call us or someone else, because they don't have a say with you moving the file if they can't do what they're supposed to do. Get it done. Don't even delay, because it puts your buyer in jeopardy that they could lose their rate lock. It puts the seller in jeopardy if they have made plans about moving dates and things like that. The title company delaying your closing should not be a thing. So I get a call from a lender partner, and he's telling me this title company, their E&O insurance is expired. They're causing us problems.
How did they even know that? That's what I want to know.
Because these are documents that the lender, I guess, requires to be sent. When the lender sends over their title order, they probably get back from the title company X, Y, and Z.
Got it.
So they were not approved by the lender. And then I said, well, send me. He's like, can you close it? We need to close tomorrow. I said, well, I don't know. Send me everything you had. He sent me a title commitment, and I said, I'm sorry, how long have you had this document? Because it is a hot mess.
And we're going to have to hold that thought right there and dive into that as soon as we come back after the break. This is Tampa Home Talk. We're going to tell you some of the nitty gritty and the crazy stuff that happens behind the scenes that you probably never saw. And we have this list of 88 types of turbulence, things that can go wrong when you buy, sell, or borrow I joke around and say it could be 188, but literally it could. This is some of the stuff that Jenny's talking about.
Adding new stuff to the list.
We'll talk about it as soon as we come back. Stick around.
Welcome home. This is Leo Kane with Barrel Engineering and Inspection, bringing you the top of the hour goodness. And that top of the hour goodness has a phone number attached to it, which happens to be 813-377-2775. It's 813-377-2775. If you have any title issues, you're buying or selling a property, or you're selling a property, need to choose a title agent, we have someone just for you.
What's that number that's called or textable?
It's 813-377-2775.
That's right. All right. So, recap real quick. Short recap, and then we'll run into it.
So what had happened was I had a lender partner call us. He was representing the buyer, of course, and the buyer had not chosen title. It was a red alert emergency situation, and the title company, not only did they have expired E&O insurance, which is bad, but they were delaying the closing. They weren't giving the correct information. They weren't approved. It was a whole hot mess. And
like, how long before closing did they figure out that the title company wasn't approved and they have an issue?
Well, from what I understood from just the lender, they had been dragging we'll get that to you right away. Oh, we'll have that by end of business today. And then kept missing those deadlines and just basically kept using delay tactics for whatever reason. I'm a Gemini, so I have zero patience. Like, you get me with that one time and now we're done. Like, You said end of day. That was today. Now it's tomorrow. Twin.
That means your birthday is right around now.
It's
When's
Gemini
your birthday?
season. I already had my birthday, June 7th.
I knew it. It was close.
My boyfriend says I have to stop celebrating it now. I was like, never. But yes.
You don't do the month of birthday?
I mean, when you have your birthday on the 7th, most people are like, it's over now. And I'm like, but why?
No. Mine's on the 8th.
Gemini season.
November. So, yeah, it's a whole month thing.
But, sorry, we digress. The matter was, like, they were delaying the closing. Like, I think they had already been pushing out the closing. And when I say they, the title company. Sellers ready to sell, buyers ready to buy.
Why?
The buyers are clear to close. I don't know. Because you're working with agents unlike Katrina Madewell, who I'm sure also has the same amount of patience that I do for people causing delays for her
not
clients.
Happening. Give me that commitment. Who was it underwritten on?
Reasons that you use a reputable title company, reasons that you use a very seasoned and educated agent, these are the reasons. Because we don't put up with the things that are nonsense.
Nonsense.
Exactly. So I'm not familiar with the agents on this deal. The property is in Ocala, which doesn't matter. We can obviously close it. But the lender is like saying, red flag, can you help us? Please, 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 can you close this tomorrow? And, on a conversation, I'm going to say, well, what are the factors? Send me everything that you have, because I don't know. We need an address, it's a starting point. So
let me just put this into perspective. Most of the time, the title company is going to have that at least 30 days in advance, sometimes longer. Yes. And someone just said, can you close this tomorrow? So let me just put that in perspective.
Well, and, listen, my team will roll up their sleeves. And, like, if we can make this happen, we will make it happen. We can, as Katrina mentioned before the break, we can take their documents and repurpose. So if there's already been a title search, if there's already been a lien search, we can take those documents, bring them in, review them by our team rather than starting from scratch. So yes, in these emergency situations, can we get it done? Yes. However, I said, all right, send me everything that you have. So I got a contract.
Let me guess, this was 5 o'clock in the afternoon the day before.
2 o'clock.
Okay,
2 o'clock.
Close enough.
And I finally told the lender, I'm like, the more you keep talking to me, the less time I have to start explaining this to my team. So, like, let me go.
Bye.
Look at what you're sending, and we'll go from there. So he sends over the title commitment, which is the document that we're talking about today. And I said, as soon as I started looking at it, I was like, what? You're sending this to me? And then I called him back right away. I go, have you read this? Has anyone on your side read this? I see a date from April. How long have you had your hands on this document and no one said anything? He goes, what do you mean? I said, first of all, the chain of title, meaning the record of who's owned the property and how it's transferred hands. The most recent change of title was a handwritten quitclaim deed.
Ooh, handwritten.
Handwritten for $0.
Oh, boy.
Don't you need to do stuff with like $10 for consideration?
I mean.
And where does that come from?
So, okay.
No answer.
That's the tough questions.
Here is my public service announcement. Can you download documents from the internet?
Oh, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Should you do this? Absolutely not. And so I said, okay.
Even me being in the industry probably could get it right, still wouldn't do it. Still wouldn't prepare my own deeds or any of that stuff. Would not do it.
The risk is too great. So I say to the lender, who's my only point of contact at this point, I said, listen, you've got issues from not your current owner, the prior owner.
Oh, boy.
Judgments, liens, mortgages, all kinds of stuff. And I'm looking at a handwritten deed from the person who is allegedly the owner now, who may or may not be, that just built a brand new construction house on this tainted land. And if she just like made some sort of backroom deal, hand wrote out this thing, had the guy sign, and I don't know what consideration they offered, she may or may not actually own this property. And if she does own this property, she probably owns this property with hundreds of thousands of debt attached to it, which she's going to have to pay at closing in order to transfer this property to your buyers. So can we close this tomorrow? No. Unless you've got a lot of answers for us. We're going to need payoffs. And you can
get everybody quick.
So the answer to that was no. Unfortunately, I think that whole deal blew up. It did not end up coming to us. But at 3 p.m. on a Friday, my team was ready to start digging in if we could save this deal. And Matt was preparing a whole list of like, okay, well, if we're going to close it, here's all the things that we need. But the cautionary tale to this is, number one, please read the title commitment. If you don't know how to read it, which most people don't because this is a document that you rarely look at, call your title provider and ask them to walk you through it. Call your amazing agent like Katrina or one of her team members and ask them to walk you through it, because it is important. What is in this document does matter. And in Florida, in real estate, we have this old Latin term called caveat emptor, which translates to buyer beware. So if you close this, for example, like this person with the handwritten deed, if you think you're buying something and you close on it and you give money, but there's something wrong, you did not do a thorough title search, you did not execute the deed properly, your entire ownership rights are in jeopardy. And your title insurance, if you didn't do a title review, you don't have a title insurance policy. So now every dollar that you spend on this.
So how does someone know if they did a title review? That's a better question.
Well, you should have this. If you're watching us on Facebook, you should have this document called a title commitment. It should be included with your closing package. If you're not sure if you got one, if you had a lender on the deal, you got one, whether you looked at it or not. And if you don't have a record of it, you can contact the title company that did your closing to request a new, fresh copy.
Which, by the way, this is a deadline on your contract that your agent should be paying attention. I pulled it up to figure out exactly what number. Most people are using the FAR bar contract in this day and age. And if someone is using the FAR bar, it's going to be line 155. And it says title evidence and insurance. And if it's the default, and it is on most contracts, if it's left blank, then it's going to be 15 days. Wait, hold on. I'm trying to read this. Is it 15 or 5? Hold on.
It's 5 days prior to closing or 15 days after
effective date?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Whichever is the later.
Yep. So if it's blank, if it's left blank, then 15 days. So, otherwise, if it's checked, then it's 5.
Here's something awesome that I'm going to tell you. When you're working with Katrina or one of her team members, we do all of the title work for our preferred agents up front at listing.
Which is a big deal.
Which is a super big deal. So proactive listing agents like Katrina are basically giving you, like when you go to buy a car, they give you your Carfax report. She's going to be able to give all prospective buyers a house fax report, essentially, on this property, this listing of hers, because she works with Insured Title Agency, and we do everything up front. So this title document...
And if there's a problem, you can get ahead of it if you're ordering the title early.
Absolutely. So like that trouble property, had that listing agent been proactive and not only requested the title commitment, but read it, or worked with a title company that read it to him and told him about all the problems.
And that's exactly what we're going to talk about when we come back after the break, is how do you read these? Because in all honesty, and that was the purpose of this whole show, when you look at this, it looks a little bit like Chinese. So you're looking at this, you're going, okay, great. Like, what am I even looking for?
It's a bunch of legal jargon.
And we're going to tell you. Yeah, we're going to tell you what each schedule is, what to look for, what are some things that would be an alert. And we're going to break all that down in the next segment pretty quickly, but very thoroughly for you. And then we're going to talk about the fraud story towards the end of the hour in the fourth segment. Our off-air number is 813-377-2775. If you got a title commitment, need a title commitment, have some questions about your title commitment, 813-377-2775, and we will be able to help you. 813-377-2775. This is Tampa Home Talk. We'll be back right after the break. Stick around.
We forgot to do it again? I thought it was 813.
Well, let's give it out just in case.
813-377-2775. That's 813-377-2775.
You know, that's the number one complaint I get from people whenever
they don't like the way
I meet them.
Read the number?
We don't give the number out enough.
813-377-2775.
They tell us.
Maybe I should replace my name with the number.
Maybe.
Go down to the courthaus, fill out the paperwork. Hi, I'm Leo, 813-377-2775.
Sounds like there's a song that
I have my own number, so.
Has anyone ever done that? Changed their legal name to be a phone number?
Oh, if Elon Musk can change Twitter to X, I'm sure it happens.
I mean, if you think about it, 813 first name, 377 middle name, 2775 last name.
Well, remember Prince changed his name for the symbol.
Well, that's because he lost the copyright or trademark to his own name.
Which is nuts.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, that happened actually to Cesar Millan. He lost everyone knew the Dog Whisperer, but the Dog Whisperer wasn't actually trademarked to him. It was owned by the
TLC or the production company.
The production company, so he had to change his name when he stopped doing the Dog Whisperer.
Unbelievable. Isn't it craziness?
Well, the same thing as in WWE. A lot of those wrestlers don't own those fake stage names.
No.
Well, just that's what Tesla has the whole, if you've ever paid attention to like their models, they spell sexy so that the SEXY, but it does. So the Model E, Tesla's models are, well, they have the Cybertruck now, so it throws it all up, but it's the Model S, the Model E or 3, the Model X, and the Model Y, which spells sexy, but they couldn't do the Model E because Ford owned the Model E.
Yeah, they do have the E series.
Yeah, so it was a 3 with the symbols, the 3 lines.
So they couldn't take sexy back. Dad joke inserted.
That was good. And that was a
solid.
JT. I love it.
Solid.
That was the best one yet, Leo.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. We got to bang through this title commitment because I do want to bring some value to the person listening. We have fun, but we are going to bring you value.
Okay, so here's the thing. I'm going to start from the top. We're going to go super fast. And so that's why I highly encourage you that if anything that I say here triggers something, call into the show because there's no way to go. It usually takes me an hour-long class just to explain this, but I talk fast, so let's go.
And we wasted our time. It will go to a podcast, so you can re-listen to it more than once.
For sure. But I think the real-life stories are the ones that tie the importance to the document because I can read you a document, but telling you how does this crash and burn if you don't read it is important. So, okay, Schedule A. This is basically the facts of the deal. So this is going to have the file number, the effective date, which is we've searched back to this date, and this is where this is accurate from here on out. Or here on back, actually. So you've got an owner's policy, a loan policy. Those will have numbers once we get to your title commitment. What type of ownership, fee simple, or condominium? Who are the current owners, their exact full legal names, and the legal description. Another extremely important part because you have your street address, but it's truly the legal description that is the legal record of how this property is conveyed.
If I want to piggyback on that really quick, because one of the things I tell my team, and I see this all the time with newbie agents. Yeah. So if your brother's cousin, sister's uncle, whatever is your new realtor, be aware of that because a big thing for me, because I have that knowledge with mortgage and title and stuff, I don't let my team ever write out legal descriptions. They always have to import it on the contract from public records. And that's like contract 101. I teach my agents is don't touch the legal description. So that's a big deal.
Do not. And sometimes what you see in Property Appraiser is the abbreviated version.
Which is a big deal.
So the title company, again, anytime you have questions, if you're filling out a contract, if you're filling out a listing agreement and you are not sure, stay in your lane. Let us be your expert partners. Fill up your dance card with your VIP partners so that if you've got a question on the fly, everyone that works with me has my direct cell phone number. I answer on the weekends. Text me, and we will sort this out. So now we're on to Schedule B, Section 1. These are all the things that are right now, requirements to be cleared in order to close. So typically what you're going to see here is a warranty deed transferring from current owners to new buyer. That'll be executed at closing. An executed mortgage, new buyers getting a mortgage, so we're going to have a properly executed mortgage that's going to be recorded. Proof of any payment of any outstanding assessments to Hillsborough County. So if there's anything owed to Hillsborough County, some sort of assessment lien, whatever, there will be a proof that this is now paid off. Then we've got proof of payment for any service on water, sewer, waste, or gas. Those are what your lien search, your municipal lien search is going to reveal. If there's any of those that exist, there will be proof of payment of those properly recorded. Any liens, if there's any liens in place, there's going to be documentation on the closing disclosure that this lien, whether it's a code enforcement lien, an HOA violation lien, whatever, a lien that you didn't pay your roofer, the seller has to pay those and settle them at closing. That cash is reserved from the seller, so it's not here's a bill, pay this later. No, they settled at closing.
Clear marketable title, and
Correct.
the title company is the gatekeeper to make sure this stuff happens.
If there's a homeowners association, we have to have the document called an estoppel. That is confirming that all homeowners association dues have been paid and are up to date. There are no violations or liens leveraged against the property by the homeowners association.
I want to ask you a question on that before we go to B2. I have had some closings with attorneys. And sometimes if they represent the buyer, we're not an attorney state, so we don't see it often. But I've seen attorneys, in my time, have the title agent mark up the commitment. Can you talk about what that means?
What do you mean by mark it up?
So I've had attorneys actually say, nope, you're going to mark off all these and clear them now.
Okay, sorry. Yes. Guess what? We just dealt with this at the national level. Every contract is negotiable. So here in the state of Florida, we have our standard contracts that were put together by the Florida Bar Association and Florida Realtors. However, just like earlier when we said, if left blank, it doesn't have to be blank. If you don't agree to a term, like in a lease agreement, you can redline it. You can mark it up. You can say, nope, I don't accept. Especially on your exceptions page, which is what I'm getting to now in Section 2. If there's something on there that you're like, no, I don't agree to that. For example, I saw a title commitment that had an extensive amount of mineral rights here in Florida, mineral rights as an exception to the title policy, which meant that if at some point it was 4 individual people that somehow had the mineral rights to a property out in Murata in the brand new communities, because here's what, yes.
How did someone have the mineral rights to that?
Because you can. At
but there's no minerals there but
That's
fish.
what I was thinking. Like, what mineral rights are you looking for?
We have phosphate in Florida.
In Isle Morada?
No.
Oh, no, like the
Murata
out here in Pasco County. So here's what I'm going to suppose, and again, this is my personal opinion, not a statement of fact, but a developer is going to buy all of this land that's never been developed before. It was a cow pasture. It was something. It was nothing before. They don't intend to own it for very long. So are they going to be doing all this research to clear all these weird things that are on the title commitment? What interest do they have in doing that? They are having temporary transient ownership of this land. Now you homeowner are buying your brand new construction house, paying these big CDDs, and you're also inheriting a bunch of trashy mineral rights that literally say...
So you can mark that off and tell the title company no?
Yeah. These people have the right to ingress and egress onto your property to explore whether there are any minerals there, and then if they are, they can dig up your backyard, extract them, and give you a fraction of what it's worth on the market, and not need to put it back the way it was when they found it. I don't accept. I'm sorry, I don't accept that that's my house.
Unlikely with these teeny tiny little lots, but I guess it's possible if it's on there.
But every single one of those lots in the whole community probably has the same thing.
Oh.
So, do you accept? I don't know. I wouldn't. So, because is it unlikely? It is unlikely. But is it possible and legally defensible? It is. And if it is an exception to your final policy, then if it does happen to you, you do not have a title claim.
So, and let's be clear, you can't say no exceptions. I don't want any exceptions. That's not possible.
So here, what are the exceptions that are a thing? So if there's already restrictions, codes, and covenants, for example, if you have a homeowners association, any rules that you were presented at the beginning of this contract process that you reviewed and you agreed to with the HOA rider, and you were presented those codes and covenants, and now you agreed, those overlay on your property.
Curveball. Have you ever had a client that, because there is a way where they can strip themselves from the HOA. Have you guys had any of those? And has it been in the title?
I have not experienced that, but here's the thing. If you want to live free on your land, don't move into an HOA community.
Yes.
Again, buyer beware. It doesn't make sense to buy into a homeowners association with all these codes and covenants that you don't agree with, and then you're now one person, part of the many, that wants to break it all up. I mean, okay, sure, you can do that, but the easier way would be to just find land with no HOA restrictions.
Right.
Which
Agreed.
Here in Florida, Katrina can show you plenty of
options.
We have
some. I don't know about plenty. We got a lot more in HOAs and not in HOAs, but
there's still some.
There's
maybe you're going to go to Hernando County, but we got you. There, Polk County. There are options for you.
You don't have to go that far. But
please live free on your land if that is your decision. But please don't move into an HOA community and decide that you want to burn it all down. It's going to be a bigger headache than it's worth. But it's not. You do not have a title claim if you buy your property in the HOA and decide that you want to have a fruit stand every single weekend and you can't, and now you're mad. You don't have a title claim. Sorry. Which is why you need to review all codes and covenants ahead of time.
So what else is in there that maybe someone should be pushing back on, saying no? And what's normal stuff that's in there? So
normal stuff is going to be the restrictions of your city or your county. So, for example, you still have to abide by code enforcement restrictions of City of Tampa or City of Wesley Chapel or Pasco County, things like that, that if there are requirements for how you can utilize your property, what farm animals and things, those are going to be standard rules. If there's any sort of easements for a power line or something from the county, the use of sidewalks in front of the sidewalk that's in front of your property, those are going to be things that are listed on there. Things that you don't want to see on here is you don't want to see exceptions from a prior foreclosure. So that could be on there, and the reason that it goes on there is because there was robo-signing and all kinds of mess when we had the housing market crash, lots of foreclosures that were not done properly. And so if you see an exception to an old foreclosure, that's definitely when you say, absolutely not, I don't accept, take it off. Okay, and then hopefully you're working with a reputable title company that would never do that to you, but if you see it, that's absolutely when it gets taken off.
So can they rewind back? Let's say the house has changed 2 or 3 times. Can they rewind 4 times in the past over a robo-signing?
Well, I don't care what happened, but it's not going to be an exception to my policy. So if that person 4 times back comes out and says it was done wrong and I have a claim, now you do have a title claim if it's not an exception to your policy.
Gotcha.
So that's why you want to get that way taken off.
And the title side behind that is messy, because if you had 4 policies in between, they're all going back to each other.
Well, you had 4 messy people that didn't clear off to begin with. But so that's definitely something to get taken off. If you see a mortgage or a lien or something like that with someone's name on it that's not a party to your contract, that's a prior owner. That's something that should have been cleaned up in the before times.
Yeah, again, this is a big deal on the exceptions page, which is B2. You want it on the page before.
If you leave something on here as an exception, if it's improbable, fine. But if it happens and it's an exception, you do not have protection. You do not have a title claim.
Anything else on there we should look out for? We got about 30 seconds.
Basically, it's just looking for the words like foreclosure, mineral rights. And my biggest advice is don't try to become an expert on this document. Use an expert. Work with an expert agent. Work with an expert title company. And ask questions.
Even an attorney. You can hire an attorney if you want to review this.
You can.
But I'll add to that, make sure they're qualified.
Look at our reviews. Check us out on Google. Insure Title Agency.
We've
got hundreds of reviews.
Welcome home. This is Tampa Home Talk. Our off-air number is 813-377-2775. You can call or text us if you'd like to get in touch with myself, Leo, any of our guests, Adam, 813-377-2775. And today we're talking all about title commitments. How do you read them? What's on them? What should you look for? What's negotiable? What isn't? what's important about this. So if you didn't hear anything else, at least look at your exceptions page and look for mineral rights or prior deeds or mortgages and make sure that's off.
Yes. Or, look at your contract, see when this document is due to you, make sure that you get that email and review it with the title company or review it with your expert agent.
So you always have a great fraud story for us because you guys are do they find you or you guys just follow them? You're like the tornado chasers, right, of the fraud stories?
Well, unfortunately, the fraudsters are coming at all of us from every single angle because we get updates from our underwriters all the time, statewide. And back in January, I was up in Tallahassee for the Great American Realtor Days and just threw it out there to agents from around the state. And everybody's like, oh, yep, that happened to us. This happened in this county. This is that. It's happening all the time. And so the best way that you can protect yourself, especially if you're on the buying side, is working with a reputable title company. And we are using Forewarn, which is an app afforded to all Florida realtors as a member benefit. Yep.
Finally, I was talking to an agent friend of mine in South Carolina, and they had this so much longer ahead of time before we did.
Dang, and we have way more fraud than they probably have in North Carolina.
I know, but yeah, finally got it.
So here we had a executed contract that came in for vacant land down in Longboat Key in Sarasota, which means it's high price point. And then as soon as we started looking into it, it's like, well, wait, there's a notice of commencement pulled for this. So vacant land with a notice of commencement basically means so they're about to be doing something on this land. Why would they be selling it while still having an open notice of commencement? So this was red flag number one. Then the telephone number that we were supposed to be working with that was the alleged seller sending text messages. So we basically did a reverse lookup. We took this phone number, put it into Forewarn, nothing comes up, which could indicate it's a burner.
That's not good. If nothing comes up, I'd be concerned.
Exactly. So nothing came up, and then we took the address and did a reverse search and got the correct owner name and the correct telephone number for the real and rightful seller.
Ooh.
Yes, and between that and contacting the builder, we were able to track down the rightful seller before escrow was even deposited to find out that no, this is not being listed for sale. It was absolutely fraud. And in that situation...
Did you have agents involved on that deal or no?
I did not see the executed contract,
so you're not sure.
So
Okay.
I'm not sure if there was an agent involved. But here's what I can say about agents is we have agents that are experienced, that work with large brokerages, who have been fooled by these fraudsters because they're just getting smarter and smarter. It's not that we're not educated and trained, but they're coming up with new and creative ways. They're faking IDs through Photoshop. They're providing selfies. They're doing, brokers are saying do this, 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 and this, and they're figuring out workarounds for it. And luckily, we caught this one way ahead of anybody getting, going with Barrel Engineering and getting like a study done or doing a survey and then incurring cost for something that essentially is not going to be there.
Buy.
Or worst case scenario, it closes, you pay for it, and now you figure out that it's fraud. And the worst one, obviously, would be vacant land because most people are buying vacant land to do what with? Build something. But we talked about legal descriptions earlier. The legal description, if you read it, is for the land, not for the domicile on the land. So if you find out that you bought the land fraudulently and just spent $1 million building a brand new house on land that you don't own, this is not a situation that you're going to want to have to try to unwind. And even if there's a title claim, it's still going to be a terrible mess, a huge headache. And so the biggest protection that you have is please go through a reputable title company. Please do a thorough title search. Please work with someone that asks all the questions, who has a record for busting fraud, because they are coming at us as much as they can. And, of course, that's what criminals do.
They should put title on blockchain. I'm telling you, the blockchain technology is the way to go.
There are lots of different legislative measures that are making it to Tallahassee, are being reviewed by lawmakers. But, unfortunately, our law enforcement hands are tied. If it's not a crime that's on the books, that's not a law that they can enforce. And so this is where when we go to Tallahassee, we have advocacy groups. We have our realtor party, which we go and lobby our elected officials and make them aware of, here are the laws that we really need for protecting home ownership rights.
Take the people that have been involved in the fraud to Tallahassee with you.
I will make that recommendation.
Take them with you. Let these lawmakers hear their story about how their land got stolen or their house got stolen.
Yes.
Let them hear it. They won't even believe it. Like you say, you try to explain it to law enforcement and they don't even know what you're talking about. They can't understand it.
And the fraud that we have busted, I know I've talked about the big one that we busted. He was charged with scheme to defraud, which is a financial crime, so it does fit, but it's not title fraud. Title fraud is not a chargeable offense.
Yeah, this should be a felony.
It should be. I mean, we should have larger penalties for this because even though, let's say, this person was busted, so did they steal the house? Did they ultimately get away with it? No, but wasn't there still a crime?
Yeah.
There was an intention.
Definitely.
You know, if you attempt to rob my house, but you don't actually get away with it, you're still committing a crime.
Right.
And so these are the gaps that we're trying to fill in, and also implement measures where it's harder to electronically record. More information is required because while it is a service, it's also being exploited by people that have nefarious intent.
Yes. Leo, you want to bust through some of our listings there?
I'll see what I can do. We have 7050 Hollowell Drive, Tampa, Florida. This is a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom in Hillsborough County. 33634
with
is
a
the zip
pool
code.
in Copperfield. You better go quick if you want it because we got multiple offers on that one.
Oh, this one won't be around. Listing price $450,000. Then we have 12703 Kings Lake Drive. This is in Gibsonton, Florida. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. This is brand new to the market and a great price. Built in 2003, so it's just over 20 years old. Listing price is $325,000. I can't believe we have this one on the market.
Just hit.
1664 Countrywood Street, Tarpon Springs. This beauty is 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms in Tarpon Springs. $400,000. 2024 Melody Drive, Holiday, Florida. $225,000. Nice starter home, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom.
2 rentals.
And we have one more, 13117 Marbled Godwood Road in Weeki Wachee, $335,000.
We're out of time.
2007.
We got some rentals too. Call or text will tell you about them. 813-377-2775. Love where you live or we'll fix it. Welcome home.
Love where you live or my mommy will fix it. And we're out.